Our meeting's on.
All right. Hey everyone. Uh Thank you again for joining this evening. Great to be back again. Just to make sure everyone can hear me, just type a one in the chat if you can hear me loud and clear, if you can see the chart, everything. It's just great to actually be able to get this done from a proper internet setup. Thank you. All right. Could you guys just type a one if you can just see everything clearly, hear everything clearly? Hey, just type a one in the chat. You guys see me? Can you guys hear everything? Awesome. Okay, we're just waiting for some people to actually just come in. Okay, so just first things first. Okay, thank you guys again for your patience. Very happy to be here again and updating you. I know it's a little bit late. Thank you for joining. We do have some people from the US as well that are joining us. Welcome to our friends from the US as well. And again, this meeting is entirely for educational and entertainment purposes only. Opinions are entirely my own. They are not analyst views. So naturally, do your own research. They are my own personal views of the market. Having said that, I'm just going to get something out of the way. So the number of impersonation scams are increasing. And just sharing a very personal experience over the last week. Um, just be very, very careful. The scams these days are extremely sophisticated. My own father was actually scammed in the last week, and they actually took money from him. Fortunately, they made a couple of mistakes, and we were able to recover the money with the help of the bank later on. But I have to say, with how elaborate scams are these days and how sophisticated they are, please be extremely careful of links that you click into. Do not give people control of your computer or anything on your personal devices that would allow them to either access your contact network or logging in, or if someone says they are investigating something, please do not oblige and log into your bank accounts. Because what they actually did was they froze his screen to make him think that nothing was happening, but behind the scenes, they were executing transfers. And then it was all about how it was to stop a money launderer. All right. So scams are very elaborate. That scam was actually mentioned recently. It's actually cost, a large number of the population, about 1.7 million, and growing. So for your elderly parents, for yourselves, please be very, very careful what you click on. And again, we will not send you friend requests or send you special requests. Just be very careful of impersonation scams, especially on Discord and Telegram. All right. So with that, guys, all right, we're gonna start the session. Proper. I just want to say something else about the competition as well. Uh, so we've had just over just about a week in terms of the competition. And in terms of the rankings, still in one's game. I know it may seem like a difficult journey. Just to share stats wise, only about 25% of the accounts are trading above water. The fortunate news is most accounts are within a plus minus 2% of the flat line. All right. And in what has been a relatively volatile and difficult week, where I've seen some huge drawdowns across accounts, um, I would say to the guys who are on the leaderboard right now, you have done an exceptional job, truly world class in terms of trading. Well done. We'll actually be, reaching out to uh, this one. I'll be reaching out personally to some of you guys via email just to ask for your thoughts and what has been working for you. You don't have to share all the details, just share what's been working for you, so that the community also can benefit from it. But yes, amazing work for those who are right now in the positive. For those of you who are still trying to break out from the zero mark, don't worry about it. Uh, Sometimes you'll spend a week or two there, and then after that, huge breakouts occur. Your setup start to work. All your strategy starts to work, and then you start taking off. So again, very early on in the game, very early on in the competition, well over 20 days left. Still anyone's game. All right. Keep within your risk limits. Stay alive so they can keep playing the game. All right. All right. Having said that, okay. How's the week been for all of you in terms of your trading, other than the competition, your personal trading? Just to get an idea, put some of it in the comments. Let me know how the week has been for some of you. If you can just have one word to describe it, put it in the chat. All right. And then I'll also start my coverage of the ES. All right. But just one word. How's the week been for some of you guys who have been trading this week? Just type it in the chat. Just one word will do. All right. Right. Profitable. Great. Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Anyway, I'll just start quickly because it is quite late. So down here, and I think many of us do want to, of course, get some sleep before the morning. But yes, it has been volatile. It has also been profitable for quite a number of people. So well done to those who have managed to capitalize on it. All right, great. So volatile weeks often lead to great opportunity sets. Again, if you are using algorithms, just bear in mind that you should be checking whether the movements and what you're seeing and observing within the market fall within your sample range. All right. There is the judgment call to make when you are using algorithms to trade as well. And even the quant firms, they make these judgment calls all the time. Always check whether the movements and what you're seeing and the returns match your back testing and what you have or what you have been expecting. All right. But having said that, all right, I'm going to cover the broad markets. The ES again made a nice recovery into the end of the week on hopes of a deal with Iran. They were supposed to sign a deal today, but of course, as expected, that is not going to happen. And details of when a signature will come still unknown, still unclear at this time. So this is a headline-driven market. But having said that, there is enough in place for a potential bottom to be in already. Okay, so one of the potential paths that we can take in the coming days, maybe in the next week or two, is this blue path. All right, you can see here there's an inverse head and shoulders potentially forming. So watch for a test, all right, of this resistance level on the ES. This is the S&P 500 closest dated futures at 7473.75. All right, before turning back down. All right, forming the right shoulder, and then probably some positive news in the week as we push higher on possibly a peace deal. Now, if we look at the NASDAQ, okay, we are also seeing a very similar pattern. All right, but the NASDAQ is almost right up at resistance. So you're looking for the neckline 29806. All right, potentially visit there. Form the right shoulder, come back up. Of course, like the ES, there is a potential downside scenario back into the box. All right, we're trading in NASDAQ 26933 up to 27834. This is another potential bottoming zone depending on how the narrative develops. All right. I like to say that we have a higher probability path in terms of one or the other. But at this time, because everything is so narrative driven, it is quite difficult to actually say which could be the higher probability path. All right. Having said that, there are some important points to note in terms of oscillators. All right. So I'm just going to expand the oscillators a bit just to help you guys understand. where things stand. I know a lot of people have been saying that, oh, okay, this is the start and there's a lot of downside to come. So in terms of overall oscillator patterns, all right, my RSI setting for the ES for the NQ tends to be 80 and 20, 80 for overbought, 20 for oversold. All right, for stochastics, you can leave it as is and you can refine it up to you. But usually the standard settings of 1413 do work. All right. Now, what I generally look for, all right, is if I am looking for a bias, whenever you see on the daily chart a oversold condition on the daily, on the stochastic, all right, not yet confirmed by the RSI, there is a good chance that this starts to bounce to the upside and has a substantial bounce, but may not break the high. However, probabilities tend to tilt towards the long side, and I'd be looking for only long opportunity setups. And what I am looking for, okay, so I'd say that if on the weekly chart, okay, this is actually on the stochastic closer to oversold, something like this, or somewhere in the middle and turning up. And then on the daily, you get an oversold condition here below 20, and you get an oversold in the stochastic as well. That would, for me, be an A+ long setup. All right, so we don't quite have that yet, but it is quite close. All right, 4 hourly is also another pattern to look at. So I kind of want to see, in terms of the broader time frames for the week, whether we have an oversold followed by confirmation on the oversold with the RSI. So for me, anything below a 1 day or daily time frame, I want to see stochastics oversold. I want to see RSI also oversold, and we actually got that on the 7th, actually, sorry, on the 6th of June. So that would actually be towards the Friday close of the 5th of June. We actually got oversold conditions starting to come in, and we can see that the pattern started to bottom out. We had positive divergence whilst the market was going down. All right, so this is the positive divergence here. All right, whilst the market is still going down. All right, usually when this starts to happen, I would be very light-footed on any short positions I am in unless it is a spread trade. Okay, so again, the biases remain to the long side here. But having said that, of course, keep your stops tight because this is still a very narrative-driven market. Okay. Then we go to the IWM. A lot of folks have been saying, oh, hey, the interest rate hikes are on the table. We may get a September hike. You know what? They have said all that, but at this point in time, the IWM is still coming back very nicely and, in fact, making new highs. And this is a very big positive. So there is a real question that, as the media is saying and telling everyone right now, that interest rates are going to go up, there is a big question of have interest rates, at least in the US, topped? All right, and if we look at the IWM, if we look at the US 10-year, all right, the US 10-year has no signs, all right, of right now pushing the upper boundaries or limits with regards to interest rates. All right, in fact, it is somewhere in the middle. There is no indication of stress. In fact, I have seen quite a bit of tactical buying on the bond futures side. So what this is signaling is that we may very well have seen the peak in terms of speculation where interest rates could be, and we may see expectations start to come off. And if that trade really starts to reverse in terms of interest rate futures expectations changing and rates actually starting to come off, all right, we may see a huge repricing in terms of risk assets. All right, one of the big sectors to look at is, of course, your regional banks, KRE. Okay, we can see here KRE is starting to break out very nicely from a nice long base pattern. All right, so this is a base pattern that has been forming for some time. Usually, if interest rates are spiking hard, okay, you will see KRE start to roll over very, very, very hard. All right. Uh, Case in point was when Silicon Valley Bank actually fell, the KRE index also fell. And there was a real question about solvency of many of these banks. But you can see here right now, KRE is pushing back towards highs and trying to break out. All right. So KRE is a very good sector. They lend a lot to, small businesses in the U.S., real estate in the U.S., commercial projects in the U.S. If this is starting to break down, then interest rate expectations or actual interest rate pricings of interest rate spikes are actually a reality. Okay, and we do not have that now, even though the media narrative is that interest rates are going through the roof and will potentially go significantly higher into the end of the year. All right, so again, we may have a media narrative top in interest rates and a potential bottoming of the market and a potential topping in the US dollar as well. All right, so I just want to make sure I recap dollar Swiss. We were calling for 80. All right, we've seen that level here. All right, it hasn't been able to break out over the level, so there's a possibility we revisit 80-10 before and then come back down again to form what could be, all right, a cup and handle pattern, or it could just go straight down. Remains anyone's guess. At this point in time, any carry trades here, I would just be a little bit cautious as the US dollar may very well have topped already. We may have seen the cyclical top. All right, but again, this carry trade, all right, still from a much longer term perspective, if you have a very good average, just a reminder of where dollar Swiss has come from. All right, so even if we have a temporary top here, if you are long dollar Swiss in terms of carry trade, just bear in mind where this has come from and that Europe is not doing great as well. All right, I would maybe not add positions or long positions dollar Swiss, but I certainly, if I had a good cost average, I would not be taking off those positions too quickly. All right. Unlike the dollar yen, all right, which we can see has gone back into the highs as expected. We were calling this for about a week and a half. All right. It's right back at 160 half. And the question is, if this broke out, where could it go to? All right, this red box here, 163.75, all the way up to 165.95 on the dollar yen. All right, these are where the dollar yen could hit next if the US dollar keeps climbing higher. Bear in mind, intervention threats above this level will start to become a reality again. And of course, just bear in mind that there is real talk of the Bank of Japan raising interest rates if oil prices don't actually come off. All right. So dollar yen a lot more risky than dollar Swiss. I would, if you had a good cost average on dollar Swiss longs in terms of the carry trade, I would stay in them, but I wouldn't add positions. But dollar yen longs, you may want to actually look at managing that risk. All right, on the downside. All right, we're going to move to the metals. Having said that, with a cyclical potential top in the US dollar, we may also have a potential bottom in gold. All right, and again, I know a lot of people have been looking at gold. Just looking at where this has come from, this has been extremely painful, but it is still a correction within a larger bull pattern. All right, and the question then is, where can this go to? Okay, in terms of the correctors, in terms of the correction, there is a possibility we may just about nick this 3958 level or the 4000 level, just wick below it and then come up again. All right. Having said that, there is enough in place right now for this to potentially be a cyclical bottom for gold, and we may actually start looking for long positions. Gold, I would say, in terms of a likely bottoming pattern, all right, can bottom anywhere within this range here, okay? But given where the US dollar is, I would be very, very careful about gold shorts right now, all right? So if you have been short gold and you have done well on that short position, well done. Just be a little bit cautious. You can see gold is starting to take off already from here, all right? Especially towards the end of the week. Same picture for silver, okay? Again, silver, just like gold, experienced a really, really large correction. And in terms of where this could bottom, uh, silver tends to not have as clean a bottoming pattern as gold has in terms of fib levels. All right. As you can see here, I was projecting the potential top for silver. That actually played out quite well, and silver was one of my big shorts this year that did extremely well and that I was extremely happy about towards the start of the year. Having said that, all right, potential bottoming levels for silver could be anywhere between this level here at the 58, 57 level, all the way down to potentially 42.40. All right, I would say at this point in time, I would flip to a long bias in silver in terms of overall biases for the positions. All right. Now, ratios. I hope you guys have been trading ratios. Right, these have worked out very nicely. All right, so the gold silver ratio, I think you can see here, we may have had a potential top in the gold silver ratio, but this is still very much obeying the standard deviation or the 2.5 standard deviation Bollinger Band lines. As I've said, and throughout the week, even in the week update, very nice, patterns here where you can see obeying the 2.5 standard deviations very well. But having said that, the overall trend bias in terms of the gold silver ratio, all right, we may have had a top in the gold silver ratio. Just like ETH tends to do a lot better than Bitcoin when crypto rallies, silver tends to do a lot better when the metals rally versus gold. All right, so something you may want to watch for in terms of your trades. Watch for retracements or bounces for your gold silver ratio. But right now, the direction and the bias may be actually to the downside. All right. Now, in terms of Bitcoin and ETH, okay, if we go to Bitcoin, this is bouncing finally, okay, and in terms of projections where this could go, 65854 up to the 67803 level. Having said that, it is still a correction within a larger downtrend pattern, so I would not be aggressively going long in terms of directional trades, but definitely this is a mean reversion setup. So do look for mean reversion trades, but stay light on them if you are trading directionally on the long side for a mean reversion on Bitcoin. Okay. Now, in terms of ETH, same pattern here. ETH tends to not be as clean in terms of fib levels. One thing to note is that, or the one thing I've noticed since about 2015 till now is that for ETH and Solana especially, when they start to not have very nice sort of like respect for fib and resistance and support levels, because liquidity is not quite there, and it's fallen quite a bit. I would say on the daily, all right, if you have at least, if it's trading below the 200-day average and you have at least a 5 to 10 ATR, all right, from the 200-day average, there usually is an indication of some sort of a bottom that is coming in place. The only challenge with regards, again, to crypto bottoms is that they like to do this. They go a bit further than expected. They wick you out as you're taking your long positions, and then they actually do bottom out. All right, so this is the one thing to note about crypto. There is a lot of market maker manipulation of price action. So just be a little bit cautious when you are doing that. One thing crypto likes to do is on the shorter time frames, especially in the 5-minute time frame, show your consolidation pattern, break out, come all the way back into your consolidation, stop you out, and then actually go. All right, this is very, very common in crypto. All right, ETH BTC though, this ratio has been a great trade so far. Okay, so if we just look at the hourly, all right, holding 2.5 standard deviations on the Bollinger Bands very nicely. But having said that, I am looking at a potential bottom in the ETH BTC ratio. All right. Again, bearing in mind that cyclical top in USD, potential cyclical bottom in metals, potential cyclical bottom in crypto. All right. Where am I targeting? Possibly the 0.02744 to 0.2829 on the ETH BTC ratio. All right. Just bear in mind that a couple of months ago, in fact, last year, this ratio was in the 0.033 to 0.3035 level. All right. So long way to go in terms of the upside, but potential bottom in the ETH BTC ratio. All right. Cool. Now, let's go to crude oil. All right, so this has been extremely volatile, naturally because of all the headlines. But it is important to note, right, that in terms of the daily on crude, all right, crude has not been able to make a new high. All right, so it's just stayed in the range. There's been a lot of news. All right, this was the actual war. This is okay throughout the week. Yeah, we're gonna bomb Iran. Okay, we bombed Iran, and as you can see, the oil market's not quite buying it. All right, so there's of course a support at 80-20, but what I am primarily expecting is a resolution to the crisis. At this point in time, it is quite obvious that Trump does not have the political will to actually continue this crisis. The question then is if this breaks down where it can go to. All right, so in terms of a breakdown, it usually will kind of fall the amount that it has risen from the last breakout point. So if we just do a quick measurement, roughly, all right, we are looking at levels in the 60s again if this entire huge consolidation breaks down. All right, so if you're doing options, call side selling is something that is quite rewarding right now on the WTI side. Having said that, just bear in mind you are in a narrative-driven market for WTI. All right. The other ratio, if some of you have actually started trading futures on the challenger side, so one of the ratios that is quite interesting is actually the crude or WTI against RBOB contracts. All right, this ratio spread has done very well as of late. All right, so this is RBOB is your gasoline price. All right, again, gasoline has always been a huge major political topic. All right, as we head into the midterms, again, we are seeing long setups on the crude oil RBOB spread setup. All right, and we have a potential target into the 31.75 to 33.34 ratio levels. All right, for crude oil over RBOB gasoline. All right, so again, this is a ratio to keep in mind. Do not ignore this ratio. This ratio is in play, I can tell you. Okay. All right. Let's look at everyone's favorite IPO. Just an indication. How many of you traded the IPO on Friday? Just give a 2 if you traded the IPO on Friday. I actually traded the IPO, but I traded it with 1 share just for the fun of it. But how many of you traded SpaceX on Friday? Just put a 2 in the comments. Nice. Very nice. Yeah. All right. So this is a very nice opening drive trade. All right. For SpaceX. I actually got in the trade right at the open here. All right. As it dipped, the level 2 tape was really active. You could see huge buying interest starting to pile in, and I actually squared out, all right, on this candle here, on a break of this support here, just before it came all the way back down. I did not play this trade setup here. And we said that, okay, for those of you who are long SpaceX, I need you to just remember how Figma played out, all right, and how many IPOs played out, because in terms of how things have played out for a lot of IPOs, all right, it has not been pretty for many IPOs, all right. So just like SpaceX, you can see this is the daily chart for Figma. Let me just zoom it into, say, 2 hours. I think you should be able to see this quite nicely to the start of the IPO. Okay, so you can see here, just like SpaceX, all right, very nice move up and then a huge drawdown from peak to trough. All right, so Figma has not actually recovered. The high that we saw on Figma was on this day, which you see as 148.8, and it is trading at 18.54. Just a note that a lot of blockbuster IPOs, the average drawdown is about 55% from peak to trough before it starts to turn around again, if it starts to turn around. All right. So if you are long SpaceX, just bear that stat in mind. You would have a drive, usually 1 or 2 days. Just remember, circle was a very similar pattern. And then after that, you start to see the thing stuff. Do not hold in hope if you see that pattern starts to stuff. Okay, once you see a break of the first opening price from the IPO, please make sure that you actually cut your position if you are not excessively sized. I would actually start to look at culling positions actually right here. So at the open price, about 150 level. All right, if it breaks 150, just cut out. Chances are this could repeat the 55, 60, possibly 70% drawdown that you will see over the next couple of weeks. And bear in mind that you would have to be really careful as you hit the 6-month mark, the lockups expire, because that's when a huge amount of selling pressure starts to come on. If you guys traded the Circle IPO, it will be worth noting that just before the lockup, about a month before, Circle really started to tank. And then once the lockup happened, you could see that Circle's price was under severe pressure until the lockup expired. Selling was done. Then we started to see a revision in price action again. All right, cool. All right, so let's go through some AI names. AI stocks were definitely in play last week. Again, these are all available on the Veridium platform if you are trading equities. All right, NVIDIA has been a great stock to sell options on. If you actually sell options on NVIDIA. All right. But having said that, all right, NVIDIA is within a bottoming zone right now that I've drawn out prior to this, the 194 to 204 zone. I sold a couple of options on the 185s. All right, so NVIDIA, it is looking like the consolidation is ending, and we may start to see a resumption of the uptrend. All right, and if you look in the options change here, okay, I'm just going to remove the chart for a while. All right, you can actually start to see within the week where a lot of the open interest is. When you start to see abnormally large open interest for the week ahead, especially expiring at the end of the week, all right, what you're looking for is the open interest here, abnormally large amounts. So, okay, we see some larger amounts in terms of the volumes on the call side, the 205 strike, All right. So for NVIDIA, usually you want to see like 50, 60,000 in terms of open interest um, on the option side for it to be judged as some sort of significant interest. But real delta hedging or real sort of like um, uh, gamma squeezes usually only start from 100,000 and up. All right. So this is just if you happen to be looking at NVIDIA options, but I'm not going to spend too much time on options because many of you can cover that on your own. But I am going to actually continue coverage of some of the other names that you can trade on the platform. All right, like Broadcom. Broadcom has been a huge laggard compared to NVIDIA. Okay, I would say that at this point in time, uh, if you are looking for entries into Broadcom, okay, we are nearing some key, or we have hit potential bottoming points for Broadcom around the 370 level. All right, we may see a bounce from there. Okay, and if you are trading really, really short term, all right, you can see here that a bounce is starting to materialize. The question then is, if you were playing an ABC pattern, what would you actually be looking for in terms of the upside? Let me just put this into the 15 minutes. It will be more obvious for you. All right, so you can see here a potential bottoming pattern in place. Very nice drive off the support level. And in terms of where this could go, if we do some measured moves, all right, let's say this low holds, okay, we could look at the 401 to 408 level on Broadcom, all right, as the upside target here. All right, anything above 392 to this level here is fair game. All right, this would be the ideal target, but in general, when you have a move off the low like this, anything within this box is an ideal range. All right. But the perfect target would be 401 to 408. All right. So Broadcom, one of the laggards that you could look to capitalize on in the coming week. Okay. And again, this is also available on the Veridium equity platform. If you are playing, this is a mean reversion trade that you'd be looking at. Now, AMD substantially more strength relative to Broadcom. But having said that, okay, this is within a much larger uptrend, is a correction pattern. Okay, there is a potential for this to do. Let me just show you what this could do in terms of path. There is a potential for this to either go down and then up again. Okay. Um, Remains to be seen. You need the next pullback to see. So there isn't a clear indication of bias right now for AMD. So just be a bit cautious if you are trading AMD in terms of if you caught the bottom here and you are long. All right. Do expect selling pressure to start stacking in from the 540 to 544 level and up if it gets there. All right. But next pullback, if this is bullish and it follows a more bullish pattern, which is somewhere around, say, the 50% mark here of this move off the lows and then move higher, all right, you should not be breaking this low here at 440, which can be your risk level and also where you can actually size your position accordingly, all right? But if we are looking for shorter term trades, intraday, all right, the question is what we'll be looking for. Obviously, we do have a upside bias on this trade. All right, but if I'm trading really, really short term on the 5-minute chart or even on the 15-minute chart, let me give some measured moves. All right, so this is a consolidation pattern right now that we are forming here. And if we took it and we use this as a simple consolidation move, we may be looking at upside here potential towards the 536 to 545 level. All right. Of course, for some of you who trade the leverage ETFs, AMDL is the leverage ETF for this. But if not, you can also trade on margin using the Veridium platform. AMD towards the 536, 545 level, which I would then look to be getting out of. All right. Before a larger consolidation takes hold. Now, where are we wrong? If the market starts to break down, let's say if AMD starts to break down on Monday and it starts to break below, all right, this level here, which is your clear risk level, is at 505 or 506, I would say. All right, I would be looking at calling any long positions. It is likely that a bigger consolidation move to the downside is starting to occur. All right. Now, Google, this one has been interesting because Google was actually mentioned on Thursday, although the internet was horrible. All right. But on Thursday, all right, it actually hit that key 348 level. I don't know how many of you caught it. If you caught it, just put a 3 in the chat if you managed to catch the Google long position. This is a nice mean reversion long. You can see a huge flush here on volume. All right, just going to minimize this, minimize this. All right, 3. Did anyone catch this Google bottom here? This was a very nice bottom. If you did, just put a 3. If you haven't, all right, not to worry. Google's bottom is still very much in play. So Google is a stock that you want to watch into next week from a technical setup standpoint. Again, your risk would be the lowest here, 346.36. All right. So size your position accordingly. I would say that if you are looking at the 2 times ETF GGLL, but in terms of margin trading on Google, GOOGL, it is available on the Veridium trading platform. All right. And then if we look at measured moves, where this could go to, all right, we are looking at ideal targets anywhere from the level of 376, 375 half, all the way up to 388 for Google. All right, so this is one of the interesting bounce and leg out plays that we could see have substantial upside if the market really starts to go. All right, so there's indication of institutional accumulation for Google right now. Okay, so with that, I've covered my own sort of predetermined list of what I want to cover. So I'll just take maybe 3 or 4 symbols that you guys might want to cover, and then we'll go into them. Just put them in the comments what you might want to cover. Or yeah, chat. Any symbols you guys want to cover, or if we are good and you guys just want to head off to bed for many of you in the Singapore time zone or Asian time zone. Any symbols you guys want to cover? All right, just put it in the chat and then I will get to that chart. All right, SNDK, nice. So this has been on the watch list. This is very similar to AMD. All right, DRAM, all the memory related sort of like stuff also in play next week. The question is where this could go to in terms of honoring risk levels. I'm just going to give you guys very short-term levels. SNDK also available for you to trade on the Veridium equity offering. All right. Now, ideally, you do not want to see this level here at 1947 broken. All right. But the ideal level that this would target for SNDK on the upside will be towards the 2131 to 2234 level on the upside here before further consolidation. All right. Indications that you are right are that the 2022 level has broken and it breaks on volume. All right. But this is the current bias for SNDK. All right. I'm seeing a lot of messages come in. Cool. DRAM, again, this is the memory ETF. All right. All the memory stocks are here. It has a similar pattern, but it is slightly marked by a bit of technical sell-off in Micron. Not a big deal. Still overall bullish. All right. In terms of overall upside, what are we looking at? we are looking at levels to the upside. Again, this is on the shorter time frames, all right, to let you guys have something to aim at and look at, all right. We have 68.50 to 70 as upside targets from current levels, all right, and where you really do not want to see the market break is 64.27, okay. That breaks, please note that you are most likely wrong on the long side of the trade, all right. Now, Marvell was definitely in play with the inclusion to the S&P 500. Okay, having said that, all right, this pattern is not nearly as bullish. Yeah, this is not nearly as bullish as AMD, SNDK memory names. I would say that even though it holds a long bias, all right, just be a little bit cautious in terms of uh, how Marvell is trading right now. This is not something not as strong as what you're seeing with AMD and SNDK and the memory stocks right now. Having said that, bullish is still biased. I would say that as long as this gap holds here, the 257 level, this has a bullish bias in terms of short-term trades you want to look for next week. All right. Let's say you say, okay, I want to look for some scalps into the start of the week, maybe a 2-3 day swing trade. What am I looking for? I am looking for risk to not break 275, 2274, I would say. And then, of course, testing of the upside towards the 296 levels and higher towards the 303 level. All right. So this would be my target box. All right. My risk, I would respect this level here, 274 breaks. I'm out of the long trade. All right. So could happen within a 2-3 day time frame or within the day or intraday as well. All right. Micron, also a name in play. There was a bit of a sell-off in Micron, but then it recovered. Having said that, overall still a bullish pattern. Okay. Similar here. This has made a recovery. All right. And then what we want to do is we want to actually start to see upside targets. If you are a long bias on this trade, all right, you want to hold targets towards the 1028 to 1048 level. Level of risk you should respect would be this wick low here, 976 if you are going long. Any break of 976 would be a violation of the bullish upside pattern. So 976 as your risk, all right, from this 990 level, depending on where it gaps out or opens at, you are definitely right, or you know that you're most likely right, all right, if it goes to 1012.7 or 1013 and higher, you're most likely going to head towards your target area here, 1028 to 1048. All right. Now, in terms of Palantir, okay, so this one has been painful. All right. I think it's been very frustrating for a lot of people. Right now, Palantir showing a lot of weakness below the 130 level. All right, that's been key support. In fact, this is what a lot of equity traders and prop firms like to call a bouncy ball pattern. All right, just be a little bit cautious whenever you see a bouncy ball pattern like this. It's like like a basketball bouncing. The bounces get lower, lower, and it starts to break. So this could break down. Just be a little bit careful of Palantir at this point in time. All right. AOI is a very interesting name. All right, but having said that, all right, this is not a great looking pattern. All right. If you look on the broader, bigger picture basis, okay, you may be having a head and shoulders that is forming here. And how do I know this? Because this is a stock I've been watching quite keenly as well. All right, so just be keenly aware of this potential head and shoulders pattern that is forming in AOI. All right, this has been something that's pointed out. So this is the left shoulder, the head right shoulder. And if this actually breaks to the downside, all right, for AOI, all right, I know opticals are in play, but just be cautious if this actually breaks to the downside. You are looking at potentially visiting the 88s, all levels at the 200 SMA. All right, but just be a little bit cautious on AOI and some of the optical names or photonic names as well. All right, SMH. Now, even though NVIDIA and all are showing an end to a potential consolidation, all right, this is revisiting the underside of a former uptrend line that is now turning into a resistance, all right. This has some bullish construct to it, but it is not out of the woods until this high here is broken. You need 642 to break. I would just watch this. It's not really giving you any entry signals, whether in the long term, the short term, of course. If you want to play momentum, if you see good volume, this again is a nice setup for that on the 15-minute. All right. I'd be looking at levels at 636 and up towards the 650 level for SMH. And again, I want to break this, former uptrend line turn resistance. And I eventually want to see a test of these highs here for the bullish pattern to actually continue. All right. Of course, some people will be trading SOXL with regards to trading SMH as the 3 times leverage. That is something that you can look at as well. All right. RKLB. Just bear in mind that a lot of the space things are going to be weighed on quite heavily. I know RKLB was added to the S&P 500, but a lot of space things are going to be weighed on quite heavily because of liquidity moving into the SpaceX IPO. All right, so just be really, really, really cautious on any space name. As you can see here, no relative strength, nothing to actually show interest in terms of the long side. And in fact, all right, there are potential short setups in RKLB down here. All right, this is a very nice impulsive wave to the downside. All right, if you are looking for short positions, I'd actually, which is the bias right now, I'd actually be looking for short positions between the 112.74 to 115.80 level down here. All right, so somewhere here, 109.68 to 112.74 to 115. I'd actually be looking at potential short positions to play a move to the downside for RKLB. All right. So again, liquidity, I'm expecting that liquidity to move from a lot of the space names, RKLB, BKSY, for that to move towards the SpaceX IPO. But again, the SpaceX IPO, just bear in mind, there is an average of a 55 to 60% downside after the IPO. So don't overstay your welcome if you are in the green there already. All right, cool. So with that, it's late. It's almost midnight in Singapore. All the best for the trading week ahead. Again, for everyone that's on the leaderboard, all profitable, excellent work, truly world-class work. Keep it up and keep it going. And wish you guys all the best. I'll see you guys on Thursday for a quick update again. All right. Other than that, have a great evening. Have a good night's rest and have a profitable week ahead. All right. Oh, yes. Want to make a quick announcement. Tomorrow, your discount codes drop. All right. And for some of you who still want to register for the competition, you should still be able to register. But if you can't, just let us know. All right. But your discount codes for your challenges will drop tomorrow. You can use those codes twice. All right. For your challenges, again, get into your pods, combine those challenge accounts together, create a real trading pod and a real trading capital, sort of like proprietary trading capital team together. All right. You guys will do much better. Again, just emphasizing 14 times the success rate when you work in pods. All right. Okay. Have a great evening, guys. Watch out for those discount codes tomorrow. And if you still want to sign up for the competition, you'll still be able to. If you cannot, just DM us, DM myself, or drop us an email, and we will help you get registered for the competition. All right. Cool. Okay. Have a great evening, guys. See you, and well done.